welcome back to another video of jPlay. I am Marcus, and as you can see, I'm about to start my next big playthrough series, which will be all about the X-Files. Normally, X-Files, the board games, would be a team game between 2 and 5 players. So one player playing the syndicate player and the other players would all play the FBI players, trying to solve cases in order to win that game. When recording videos alone, like I usually do, a team game isn't much fun. Because I know basically both of the sides and it's not really fun for me to do that. So I'm really happy that a very great fella on the Geek came up with this relatively straightforward cooperative variant or rule variant here for the X-Files, and this is what I will try out today. So I decided to do a 3-player game playing Fox Mulder, Walter Skinner, and of course Dana Scully here. I will fight the syndicate that's been represented by the game itself. I think this is the cigarette smoking man. Really nice thematic idea of this game, and I really have to say I love this game a lot. There were some complaints on the Geek that it's too easy, too light, but I really enjoyed when you played with the right sort of people. It's really actually pretty fun. The setup of the game is only slightly different to when you played with the normal rules. You still reveal X number of new cases, where X is the amount of agents you are playing with. In this case we have 3 cases on the board, 1 here in the northeast, 2 in the south. And then the next thing is you would place syndicate cards to all those spaces that are currently connected to those cases. Normally that would be a thing where the syndicate player would choose which card to place, but in this case we just place those cards at random, and then I have to face those cards once I try to resolve or get after those cases here. Not sure how familiar you are with the TV show, but the base game represents the first 3 seasons of the X-Files. The new expansion that just came out, and I luckily got one copy already, is around seasons 4 to 6. But as there is not really an adjustment for the expansions out there for this variant here, I will of course focus only on the base game here. But let's have a look at those cases down there. So here we have the Miracle Man. So your theory is that if Samuel can repair this energy field in order to heal, he can also destroy it in order to kill. Why not? Then we have Squeeze. What if some genetic mutation could allow a man to awaken every 30 years? And what if the 5 livers could provide him sustenance for that period? What if Toombs is some kind of a 20th century genetic mutant? And last but not least, we have Die Hand, die verletzt, a German title. Mulder, toads just fell from the sky. I guess their parachutes didn't open. Really like that. And those are basically the 3 cases I have to deal with at this point in time. Every case I'm not able to solve in any given round would give the syndicate player 1 take to grab tokens out of the bag, and this is how he would win the game actually. And as soon as we are allowed to, or if we are closing those cases, we are allowed to draw the amount of investigation tokens equal to the success value that's printed here on the right on those cards. But of course I will explain this mechanics as I play. But what's really important, this is basically the victory point track. So for once, if the syndicate player gets 25 or more of those investigation tokens, or a value equal or higher than 25, then the syndicate player immediately wins the game. And we basically try to complete the poster that's been in the office of Fox Mulder, where he says, "I want to believe," and here are those poster pieces, and I really love that idea. And you can basically exchange those investigation tokens for 1 piece of this puzzle here. Each agent player starts the game with 5 of those agent cards and 3 of those influence tokens. Those influence tokens are kind of a currency in this game. In this variant, the syndicate player doesn't use those at all, so he just is allowed to place those cards whenever they are depleted or whenever there are new cases on the board. But for us, they are still a very important asset. Let's have a look at the special abilities of our agents before we start. Fox Mulder is a believer, of course. At the start of his turn, Mulder may pay 1 influence to look at the face-down syndicate card of his choice. He may share this knowledge with the other agents. As there is no traitor in this game, or at least in the base game, and as far as I know, not in the expansion, there's no real reason why we shouldn't share this. Unless you don't want to tell the syndicate player what you just seen, but also doesn't really make sense because the syndicate player is always able to check out his syndicate cards at any point in time. He has those 2 strong abilities here and 1 weak ability, so he's not very strong in science, but this is only important when you are about to solve the cases. Walter Skinner is well connected. At the start of his turn, Skinner gains 1 influence. As usual, Skinner may choose to heal a wound instead of gaining influence. So this is really great because you can use those influence tokens also to heal yourself. And as he always gets 1 of those influence tokens at the start of each turn, he might be able to heal automatically 1 wound. And last but not least, we have the skeptic Dana Scully. When Scully draws 1 or more evidence tokens, she draws 1 extra, returning 1 evidence token to the evidence bag after looking at them. So she can really make a difference in order to make some progress. That's also a very, very valuable ability. So I think we can get started. Fox Mulder will go first. This is something that you should do because of his special ability when checking out those syndicate cards here. It could help the other players to decide, hey, should I stay here? Should I go to this case, for example? So this is certainly a valuable ability to keep in mind, at least when you play him as the starting player. And I think before he gets started, at the start of his turn, he will now pay 1 of his influence tokens. And I think with that, he wants to use his ability, the Believer. So let's have a look at this face down syndicate card. And here we have Lively. Well, that's one of the luxuries of hunting down aliens and genetic mutants. You rarely get to press charges. And it's an ally. All X-Files have their difficulty increased by 1. Well, this is really bad start. Right now we only have seen this one, but now we should really consider, do we want to go after that case? Because after I do that case, I have to also trigger this event card here, or this syndicate card here. And then, as long as this ally is in place, we have to deal with a lot more difficult cases. But maybe one of our investigators does have another ally with him, and there can only be ever 1 ally in play at all time for both of the sides. So whatever, if now the syndicate player has an ally on the appropriate slot up there, and then the agents would play another ally, that this ally will get removed, and the same will be then when the syndicate player will then place another ally. In this case, then the agent ally would be removed. So there might be a chance that one of our agents has 1 ally. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It's now fully cooperative, so there's no reason not to discuss any cards. You are also allowed to do that in the normal game, but of course you are normally not supposed to leave the table. So when you talk to other agents, the syndicate player will hear what you are talking about. But in this case, you can really freely show your cards and whatnot. So yeah, we don't have an ally, so this might be already a problem. So we might think to move down to the south here, because those cases are much easier. This one up there is 12, this is a 9, this is a 6, so in total something that's solvable. Of course, the northeastern case also provides us 4 of those tokens, so this is really valuable as well. So I think I have to compare the cards now to see what strategy to follow. Okie dokie, but this was only at the start of his turn, or his special ability. During your turn, you follow those 3 steps from top to bottom. First step would be to move or to consult with another agent. Consult with another agent just means you can trade cards with another player in your region. Of course, I should make it clear you are allowed to exchange exactly 1 card with one another agent. And I think this is what I will do. So I think Fox will give the call in favor over to his boss, Walter Skinner, and therefore he gets the emerging patterns. Why am I doing this? Because you see those symbols here, and you also see that Fox Mulder is strong in the flying saucer here and the alien face here, which means when he plays those cards, he doesn't have to pay any influence to that. Normally you have to pay 1 influence to play one of those cards. If you're weak in the card, you also have to pay 2 of those influence tokens, which is why you should really consider exchanging the cards in order to provide, or in order not to pay too many of those influence tokens. This was already step 1, so we come into step 2. Now we could plan, so we would gain 3 influence, or I would be allowed to act. Act just means I want to solve cases or play cards, for example. Okay, I will now act as Fox Mulder. I will play this card. Emerging patterns. Sometimes the only sane answer to an insane world is insanity. This makes sense, right? This is a strong ability for me, so I don't have to pay any influence to play this card, and then I do what it says here on the bottom of the card. Investigate 2, and then +1 for every syndicate card attached to this X file. As I'm now investigating, this also means that the syndicate player would now have the chance to reveal this card, the syndicate card. Normally the syndicate player now would have to pay influence equal to the value of the card here, but in this case, as I'm playing this cooperative variant, he doesn't have to pay anything. This card just gets triggered right away, so it moves over to the ally spot. But of course, we are still allowed to place 3 investigation tokens on that case, because at the time I triggered this card, there was still 1 syndicate card attached to this case, so which is basically the bonus of this emerging patterns here. This card just gets discarded right away. This was already my turn, or more or less the active part of my turn. We did some progress here. We still need 10 more progress tokens, but we would be also allowed to get 4 picks out of the cloth bag in order to make some progress here. Yeah. And the last thing to do would be to draw another agent card, which would be the lab analysis. Unfortunately, not really the best pick for us, because this is our weak skill. So in order to play that card as Fox Mulder, we would have to pay 2 of those influence tokens. So I think this is a pretty good candidate to exchange that card with Dana Scully. Then it's the turn of Walter Skinner. Because he's well connected, he receives 1 influence, and we really needed that. I did some calculations beforehand, so this should be just enough to solve that case, die Hand, die verletzt. So hopefully I was counting right. Basically, now we would be able to move or to consult another agent. But I think I will skip that step, because it's not really making sense to exchange those cards at this point in time. So yeah, we can easily skip that. And now we come to the planning phase, or to the act phase, depending on what I choose. In this case, of course, I will also decide to act. And of course, we want to investigate again. So he will play this card. This is his strong skill. So he's really the pencil guy here. Exhume body. Seal this up right now. Nobody sees or touches this. Nobody. Investigate 3, and then +1 for every influence you spend. So let's just place those 3 tokens here on the board already. And now we can spend any number of influence in order to increase that value. And I think he will go all in, basically. So he will pay 4 of his influence tokens. That's really a tough case, that's for sure. So this would also add up to our progress here. So we are already at 10 investigation tokens here, or whatever they are called, progress tokens here. This card will be discarded right away. This pretty much ends the turn of Walter Skinner here. He's still allowed to draw a card. And here he drew the Firefight. Investigate 3 +1 for every wound you voluntarily suffer afterwards. This is a very great card, I think, for the Alex Krychek agent, but we are not playing with him in this playthrough here. Then it's Dana Scully's turn. She will also consult with another agent. She will consult Fox Mulder, so she would give him this card because this is his strong skill. Therefore, she gets this card back, the lab analysis card. So this is a strong skill for her. This is pretty cool, I guess. And then we can jump directly into the act phase here. So she will play this investigation card here. This is not a strong skill, but it's also not a weak skill. This means she has to pay one of these influence tokens here. And this says, follow hunch. We're out here on half a hunch of a cryptic phone call, chasing down a clue that's based on nothing but speculation. Draw 2 cards, that's already a good thing. I will have a look at those cards in a second. And then investigate 3. And guess what? This brings us to 13 progress tokens, which is now enough in order to close that case, which also means we are being allowed to get 4 of those clue tokens or progress investigation tokens. So we are basically drawing those tokens out of the bag. At the start of the game there are none of those cigarette tokens in there, and each cigarette token I'm drawing is basically a dot. So this is how the syndicate player will make our lives much tougher. So in this case we would be allowed to draw 4 of those tokens, but because we are Dana Scully, we can use our skeptic ability, and this says when Scully draws 1 or more evidence tokens, she draws 1 extra, returning 1 evidence tokens to the evidence bags after looking at them. So in this case we would be allowed to draw 5 instead of 4. Okay, let's do that. Let's draw first one. Okay, that's a 2. Awesome. 1. It's not so awesome, but that's the standard. Another 1. 2 more. Okay, still 1 more, but we still have to return 1 of those back to the back. And here's another 2. This is awesome. So we will keep those 4 and we'll return this 1 here back to the cloth bag, of course. This brings us to 6 points in total. This is awesome because this also means we can directly buy 2 of those puzzle pieces, because for each agent in play you have to pay 1 of those tokens or values here in order to buy 1 piece of the puzzle. So this is 1, this is another 1. Awesome start. So let's place the first 2 pieces of the puzzle next to our player board, and keep in mind we are still in need of 7 more of those. The good thing is those investigation tokens go back to the cloth bag right away, so this means we just put back 2 of those value 2 tokens back for later use. Maybe I was a bit quick here. Of course, we first have to finish the turn of the agent player. All of those progress tokens go back. The follow the hunch card goes or will be discarded. This case will be flipped over. It's now a closed file, and you keep those cases on the board because there are cards in play that are referencing the amount of closed cases in any region here. This could be good and bad, both of those. And of course we still have those 2 cards that Dana Scully just drew, and in order to finish her turn she's still allowed to get 1 of those agent cards. Those are the 3 cards she just drew, the 2 from the card she played and 1 from the card that she gets at the end of each turn. This is the exhumed body. This is something that we should give back to Walter Skinner. He can really use it quite well. This is a chase card. This is okay, I guess. Not great, but sometimes when you have wounds, you can then use this card to make an advantage out of those wounds. Normally, wounds are actually roadblocks, of course, and then we have the helpful dream, which would give us 2 influence, and then I would be able to play another card. This is also always a great thing to have. And now we come to the turn of the syndicate player. Again, normally this is done by an actual player. In this case, we have to automate it somehow, and this is the nice little shield where he keeps normally track of whatever your cards and all of those tokens and whatnot, but in this case I would just use it to go through the turn order accordingly. The first thing to do would be to conceal evidence, which means we are drawing evidence tokens from the evidence bag for each X file still unsolved on the map. Right now we have 2 unsolved cases, which means he's allowed to draw 2 tokens out of the bag. So let's do that real quick. Here's 1. That's a 2. And those tokens never go back to the cloth bag. This is already a bad start for us. See, next one. Okay, this is a 1. So in total, he just gathered 3, let's call it influence, or 3 progress already. And keep in mind, if he has a value of 25 or higher, the syndicate player automatically wins the game. Normally, those tokens are being kept secret from the other players or from the agent players, but the syndicate player is still supposed to give them some kind of a clue of his progress. So for example, if the syndicate player normally would go from 6 to 10, then he would be supposed to put the marker here accordingly. And of course the same would be true for the agent players. So we just collected 2 of those puzzle pieces, but the puzzle is normally a fun part. You will always want to keep it on the table visible for all the players. As we just have drawn 1 of those evidence tokens, this also means the syndicate player is allowed to place 1 of those cigarette tokens into the cloth bag. And again, keep in mind, when the agent players draw those cigarettes token, that's basically 1 spoiled draw. If the syndicate player ever draws 1 of those cigarette tokens, he's allowed to keep on drawing, so it does not really hinder him. Next up is replenish X-Files. Draw X-Files cards from the X-Files deck and put them into play until the number of X-Files in play is equal to the number of agents. This is pretty easy. As we have 3 agents, we have 2 unsolved cases. This means we need to draw 1 new case. Let's see, this is a south case. We already have 2 cases in the south, so we have to keep on drawing. This is a western case. This is kind of a bad thing because we are pretty far away from this, so this is Piper Maru. Let's place it here. We bury our dead alive, don't we? I don't know if I understand. We hear them every day. They talk to us, they haunt us, they beg us for meaning. Conscience is just the voices of the dead trying to save us from our own damnation. This is a relatively easy case, so we only need 5 progress tokens, and the special ability says add +1 difficulty for each solved X-file in this region. This is already one of those cases that take reference to the amount of cases in the region, but right now we are kind of lucky because there is no close case in the region here. But of course we also only get 2 of those evidence tokens out of the bag here. So overall, a relatively easy case to solve. The problem in the co-op version of the game is now we have to place a face down syndicate card in all of those connected spaces, so that spaces that connect to an unsolved case here. So we have to deal with 3 syndicate cards. So the first player to go there has to deal with all 3 of those, so they can really have a bad effect on us. So not sure if I want to go there that soon. Of course we still have the ability of Fox Mulder, the believer, so he can make sure he can have a look at one of those cards at every given round. The next stages of the syndicate player are only valid when you play with an actual syndicate player. So you would refill your hand, so you always have 5 cards in your hand at any given time. Then you would be able to collect influence, so basically equal to the number of agent players, and then you would be allowed to play those syndicate cards. You can play any number of cards on the board, and you don't have to pay actual influence in order to place those cards. Only when you want to trigger those cards, or when those files are being investigated, then you have to pay the influence that's printed on the card. There is one exception to the rule. If you want to exchange a card, for example, you will also have to pay 1 influence in order to do that. It's really a great way to misdirect your actions, and this is really fun playing the syndicate player in this game. I really enjoy it a lot. And then we would start round 2 of our playthrough here with Fox Mulder going first. But I think I will end my playthrough for today. You still have a lot to digest in respect to all of the core rules, in respect to the little additions that come with an awesome solo or cooperative variant of the game, and I really cannot thank you enough for putting those together. I think as of the next video I will do at least 2 or 3 turns in one video in order to get things moving, but again, for today I will stop it here. I really hope you enjoyed my little playthrough so far. I really think this can be actually quite fun, so I'm really looking forward to the next episode. And yeah, hope to see you soon in one of my next videos, and until then, bye bye.